Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So I'm super excited to be shooting this today because I know so many of you are going to be going off and doing your video interviews and your face-to-face interviews and then getting ready for training in the spring. So I did want to take as many questions as I possibly can and give them to you and kind of give you how I would either answer the question or how you should go about answering the question. And I know obviously they can pop in random questions, but I feel like I've gotten a very wide range of questions that almost every airline is going to ask you. So you can kind of study these and then go into your interview feeling really confident. Even if the questions are just a little bit different, you're already ready, you already know what you're gonna say, and you're gonna nail it. If this is content and stuff that you do wanna see, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and turn the bell on. It really means a lot to me. I post a ton of videos on traveling and especially the flight attendant lifestyle and how you could become a flight attendant or just what a day in a life is like. So if that's something you're interested in, then stay tuned, but let's get into the video. So one of the first questions that you can probably expect, and it's gonna be something as simple as, tell me about yourself. Now, when you get this question, I know you probably have a ton of hobbies and a ton of interesting stuff about you, but really what they're asking you is tell me about yourself and your customer service experience. So whether this is just a flat out question or if it's going to be in your group exercise where you're supposed to come up with something about yourself, then really make sure that you put something about your customer service experience. So for example, when I'm being asked this, I would tell you something around the lines of, my name is Kat Nesbitt, I am a flight attendant, but before this, I was a bartender on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. You know, something like that, something that shows that you've really worked with people, no matter what that is. So come up with an interesting fact, but that also helps you lead with your best foot forward. Another tip is when you are describing yourself, use adjectives like these: flexible, hardworking, reliable, responsible, trustworthy. They are looking for these kind of characteristics in a flight attendant. So make sure when you're describing yourself, these are things that you are. And also make sure these are things that you are, okay? Another question that I have definitely talked about, and I have deemed it as the most important question they are going to ask you, which they are going to ask you. So if you have not seen my How to Become a Flight Attendant series, I would definitely recommend that. I go through the step-by-step process and I also dive deeper into how to answer this question. And I will link that down below so you can go ahead and watch that. I really recommend that because I give so much information on tips and tricks and everything on how to get through each step of your interview process. But here is the question that they are 100% going to ask you. That is, why do you want to be a flight attendant for our airline? It means their specific airline. So if you do not know how to answer this question, then go ahead and watch the video linked down below, and I do have a full range on how you should answer this question and all the details you should put into it. Okay, so another question that they might ask you that is definitely more of a personal question is going to be, what are some of your personal goals, or where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, when your company asking somebody who is interviewing for your company this question, you want to see them in 5 years, or you want their personal goals to be about staying with your company. Now you can answer this question basically saying I see myself still working with this company, maybe doing something else or special projects, because that is something so wonderful about being a flight attendant and being in these larger airlines and even some of the smaller regional airlines is there's so much room to move up. So even if flying isn't your thing or you want to stay home more, they have so many options for you to go ahead and transfer into other positions, whether you want to become an instructor or just do something more corporate, or they have special projects. So when they have something really unique going on or getting ready for training and all sorts of stuff, they definitely have special projects that you can sign up for as well. So to best answer this question, make sure that you note that you do want to stay with the company. Now, whether that's a flight attendant or not is completely up to you, but they are investing a lot of time and a lot of money into you. So when they are training you, they want to know that their time and their energy and their effort is going to good use for their company. So that's why this question is very important that you answer that your goals are still with the company. Okay, so another question that they most likely will ask you is, describe a time when you had to work with a difficult customer or coworker or manager or something around those lines. So Think of difficult situations, think of difficult people you've had to work with, and then how did you deal with those people? So really what they're looking for is that you stayed calm, that you listened to the customer and understood, you responded telling them you understood, and then you gave them options on what they can do. For your customers, it's so great to give them options because then they feel like they're choosing and they feel like you helped them above what you meant to. So that's more likely, even when a bad situation happens, to make them a returning customer, which, trust me, your airline is always looking for. So another question that you might see is probably going to deal with teamwork. Now, how they ask you could be a broad range. Something like, describe a time when you worked in a team, or it could be something like, in a team, which role are you? Are you the leader? Are you the follower, the motivator? So when you're answering questions like this, make sure you realize you're all of those people. When you're working in a team, it is great to step up, but it's also great to follow in somebody else's great ideas. And of course, you need to motivate your teammates. So when you are describing a time when you worked in a team and come up with something, make sure that they know that you are a leader, you are a follower, and you are a motivator. You're just a little bit of all three, which every team player needs. Now this question, I can almost guarantee you're probably going to see it. And it's going to be, describe a time when you received excellent customer service. Or it's going to sound like, describe what excellent customer service means to you. Now, everybody's answer is going to be different, and that's great because it really does need to be something that affects you and means something to you. Because trust me, the number one thing they're looking for is customer service. So if you don't know how to answer any of these questions, think customer service. Because yes, safety is the number one most important thing to a flight attendant, but they're gonna teach you all of their rules and all of their protocols and training, but they probably can't teach you most of the customer service stuff. That's something that you either have it or you don't, which is why if you're that far into your interview, they know you have tons of experience. Now prove it. So for example, great customer service to me is creating a wonderfully unique and personalized experience for the customer that was far more than they expected to receive. Something like using their names, using eye contact, smiling a ton. So basically your answers here need to reflect that kind of stuff, but I can promise you, when you actually use the time that you did receive great customer service and how happy that made you feel, when you speak with them, they're gonna realize that as well. They're trying to create loyal, returning customers. So to have somebody who understands what great customer service is highly important to them. So write down, like really take notes or something and really think this one over because it's such an important question. So think about how somebody used great customer service experience with you and how you felt and how you can give that to somebody else. Because trust me, this question is important. Another thing that you might see, which kind of relates back to the question I was just talking about, is give a time when you went above your job requirements to help somebody out. Now just really think on this one. Think, because this is important. Everything with customer service is important. And just think to you, what is great customer service? And then think of a time when you actually use those qualities for somebody. Now, if you are going to lie, make sure you lie well. But even if you're lying, they might know you're lying, but they're gonna at least understand you grasp the concept of great customer service. The option is up to you, but if you are going to lie, you better lie well. This next question is a double-edged sword, so be so careful when answering this question because it is a trick question. I'm gonna ask you something like, what is your biggest weakness, or what is going to be the hardest part to you about being a flight attendant? Now, when you answer this question, yes, it is a negative question and it's going to put a negative light on you. So you need to spin it, okay? Spin the question. You need to basically come up with an answer that is a negative that's actually a positive. So for example, if I was to answer this question, I would say something like, my biggest weakness is when I love something, I love it completely passionately. So it sometimes engulfs my life. Like for example, this job, I would probably love it so passionately, my whole life would become this job. So kind of do something like that. I'm not saying that is the best answer you can give, but give a negative that's actually a positive, okay? So another question that I do know that they love to ask is, if your CEO came on board, how would you handle it? Or what would you best do? So actually the answer to this question is you should resume your normal policies and procedures. Because remember, the most important thing to a flight attendant is safety. Customer service is a solid second. So if your CEO is on board, the first thing you should do is continue to follow your policies and procedures to make sure all of your passengers are completely safe. But next, of course, you can always go and introduce yourself and tell them that you're very glad that he or she is on your flight. But just make sure your number one answer has to deal with safety. So another thing that you will probably be asked is, are you willing to relocate? So this is a tricky question because I do know that some of you are planning to commute, but they do want to hire very flexible people. So even if you do have questions on commuting or you're interested in commuting, understand they are trying to hire people a lot of times that are willing to relocate, that are very flexible, because flexibility goes a lot in this job. So sometimes you should probably think, in my opinion, maybe keep commuting to yourself until you get to training. Because yes, commuting is possible. It is just so tough. And I'm not gonna say they're not gonna hire you if you want to be a commuter, but they are definitely looking for somebody who is flexible. And a lot of times they ask you that in your questionnaire, and I can probably guarantee every single one of you said you were willing to relocate. So when they ask it to you again in either your video interview or your face-to-face interview, the best answer to this question is yes, you are willing to relocate. Because when you say, yes, I am willing to relocate, they know you're going to be on time, which is so important to them. They know you're most likely going to live in base, so you're going to be responsible for the trips you receive. All of such is very important to them. And plus, a lot changes. So by the time that you're done with the interview process, you might actually be willing to relocate. But they are looking for a yes on this answer. Now, I do feel like the questions that I've talked about today are great broad questions, and I do feel like you're definitely going to see some of these, like I have said. So practice, and when you are saying your questions, try your best to make them not sound too rehearsed or put some enthusiasm behind them, because when you're excited, they're excited. When you're smiling, they're smiling, okay? And all of that is important. So even when you're practicing them, just make sure you don't sound like super robotic or very monotone, because those aren't good. But I do recommend that you do practice, because that way you are going to go in and feeling confident and prepared, which is always a good thing in an interview. I can promise you that. Now, I will go ahead and try and put some more questions down below that you might see, but I do feel like the questions that I put in this video are the most important questions. They are the ones you are most likely to see. But just for some more practice and just so you feel more confident going into your interview, there will be a few more down below that you can go over with yourself or go over with some friends and see if they'll help you out and be like, do you mind if I practice in front of you? Or grab your cell phone, put it up there, and record you answering these questions, especially before your video interview. It's always great to record yourself because you're going to see what they're going to see. So if you can't honestly critique yourself, record yourself and then go show a friend and have them critique you. But if you can take an honest review and you can really break down what you're doing right and wrong, I can promise you, you're gonna go in feeling very prepared. Now, if you did like these questions and you do feel confident going into your interview and you like to see stuff like this, again, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel and turn the bell on so you can be notified every single time I post videos. It truly means a world to me, and I really feel like I'm making a difference, helping a lot of you get hired, which shout out to Valerie. She was my roommate at my regional airline. She just finished her face-to-face that I did help prep her for, not to mention she studied a ton on her own, okay? So I'm not going to take all the credit for this. She went in and she got hired, and she's going to be with my company in the spring. So congratulations to you, Val. I am so excited. Trust me, I am more excited to see this girl with my airline than I was when I got hired. I promise you this stuff works, you guys. So please practice. And if you need any help, reach out to me. I will be more than happy to help you out. All right, everybody. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.